Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Great Black Speakers Podcast, where we connect through conversation. I am your host, Lawrence Watkins. I am the founder and CEO of Great Black Speakers Bureau. I'm also the president and chief operating officer of the Black Business School. So today we have a very special guest. I am very excited to bring on Miss Kaneisha Grayson. Kaneisha is the founder and CEO of The Art of Applying and The Bold Soul. The Art of Applying is a company that helps non-traditional and wildcard applicants get into the world's top graduate schools and the money to pay for it. The Bold Soul is a new community that's coming out. It's a community course and podcast that helps high academic achievers who are wild at heart to grow their online business and find their ideal partner. So Kaneisha, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Hi, Lawrence. Thanks for having me here today. That was quite the mouthful.
That's okay. Yeah, you have accomplished so much. I guess we've known each other for over 11 years now, almost 12
For
years.
sure. hmm
Yeah. And for those who don't know much about you, can you tell the audience a little bit about yourself and how you've gotten to this point in your career?
For sure. Lawrence, you and I met on a Black ski trip, which was a lot of fun. You went to Cornell. I went to Harvard Business School, and all the Black student orgs in the Northeast got together, went skiing, and me and you ended up started talking about entrepreneurship, and both our faces just lit up, and we were like talking for like an hour. And I just really remember you're probably my favorite person that I met at that whole thing. So I'm really happy that we've stayed in touch, and it's been so cool to just see everything with great Black speakers and the Black Financial Channel and just everything. So really, really happy to be here. I'm Kaneisha Grayson. I'm 36 years old. I grew up in Austin, Texas, in a low-income, primarily Mexican-American community called Dove Springs. And both my parents went to college, but I am what I call a first generation professional, meaning that I'm the first person in my generation to get a graduate degree. I have I have several cousins now who have graduate degrees, and I'm pretty sure my cousin Antonio got his graduate degree before I did, but I consider us, the same generation. So that's what I call myself, as kind of a first generation professional, and definitely I'll be a first generation millionaire. Looking forward to that. And so I grew up in a low income, high crime neighborhood. And the way that I was always able to have opportunities in my life to experience new places and new experiences was through school and through education by going to magnet schools. And so when I was in sixth grade, I got pulled into this presentation by, I don't know, some nerdy kids on stage with some teachers being like, is school too easy for you? And I'm like, yeah. And, are you a nerd? I am. You want school to be hard? I do. Okay, well then apply to come to our school. So I applied to go to the magnet school, and I got in and I loved it. It was my first time being in class with really more than like one or two white kids. It was my first time being in class with more than like one or two Asian American kids. It was just so diverse. And I remember one of my friends, her dad was from Saudi Arabia, and I was like, what? And so it was a really diverse learning environment, very rigorous, and just a ton of fun. And I actually became one of the students that they would pull out of class and have us go around to elementary schools and middle schools to do the "Are you a nerd?" speech. And so I became, chief nerd presenter for the "Are you a nerd?" speech and recruiting people to come to that magnet school. The same exact situation happened for high school, where I decided to go to the weirdo nerd high school. And I went to the liberal arts magnet school in my city, where you've got people wearing capes to school and just being, wild hearted and weird. And I had an amazing high school experience. And when I was in high school, they sat me down, the college counselor. Our college counselor was extraordinarily problematic and unkind in many ways, but she was very good at her job in terms of helping us navigate the college application process and really helping us be strategic about college applications. And one of the things she said to me was, Kaneisha, you're going to get into every school you apply to for college. I really want you to go to a small private liberal arts school so you can see how rich people live, get a lot of attention from your professors. You're not going to get that same amazing attention at a really large research institution, because I actually had a full scholarship to go to University of Texas at Austin. And I think I could have had an amazing experience at UT. I love UT, think it's a great school. But she just was like, go to this private school and then go to Harvard for grad school. And that's so funny because I didn't really even know what grad school was, but it was like 18, 17-year-old me like, okay, go to Harvard for grad school. And I ended up going to Pomona College for college, and I studied Black studies. So I focused my studies really on Black women, Black feminism, and really did my college thesis on something that I'm still so proud of. My college thesis was called Sisterhood Agenda, Black Women, Feminism, and Social Entrepreneurship. And that was like way back in the day. This is 2005, 2006, before really almost anyone was talking about social entrepreneurship. So I'm just really proud that like I had this glimmer of knowing what it was to dedicate my college thesis to that. I earned a scholarship from the Rotary Club to live in any country in the world, basically any country in the world, and do volunteer work. So I chose Ghana. I knew I wanted to go to the continent, but I didn't speak French. So I chose an English speaking country. And I wanted to go to Nigeria, but my Nigerian friends told me I would get toe up if I went to Nigeria because I was too clueless and sweet. So I was like, okay. And I said, you should go to Ghana. So I went to Ghana and I spent a year there and I had an amazing time. And then I ended up applying, getting into Harvard Kennedy School to get my Master's of Public Administration, Harvard Business School to get my Master's of Business Administration. So I was there for 3 years. I did 2 different corporate internships. I really wanted a 6-figure job, but I really do not, I use the word wild at heart or wild card applicant. I'm a very kind of wild at heart person. I don't often fit into very hierarchical institutions where there's a lot of meetings and a lot of layers. And I just really felt I need to work for myself. I want to be paid to be me. So I decided I was going to start a business helping people apply to grad school because so many people were reaching out to me asking for help. So I wrote a business plan. And when I say business plan, it wasn't some really elaborate, very complicated thing. It was really just a slide deck about how I was going to start this online business of blogs about different topics, and I was going to monetize them through coaching. And the first one would be the art of applying. I also was and soon will be again a relationship coach. So I also used to have a really popular dating blog as well. So that was one as well. But right now it was really just the art of applying, and now the Bold Soul is the second one. So that's a little bit about me. I'm divorced. I think it's important to say that because like I want to destigmatize divorce. And I live in Austin, Texas. Before living here, this is where I'm from. Before coming back to live here, I was a digital nomad, living out of Airbnbs and working out of WeWorks in Barcelona, Spain, having the time of my life. But I'm actually really happy.
You were having the time of your life, it seems.
Living my best life, Lawrence, but I'm actually really happy to be spending the pandemic in Austin, nice and close to my dad and my sister and my nephews. And I got myself a dog and a boyfriend, and like I'm really kind of settling in. So that's a lot about me, and happy to answer more questions. And I really like to share my story to just help people understand that like, you don't have to start out with a trust fund or somebody giving you a whole bunch of money. You can literally start from $0 and a laptop and a dream and grow it to $1 million company. So, the art of applying was literally just me and a laptop in business school and policy school, just, on my little computer, answering people's questions for free on forums. And I did receive $10,000 from Harvard Business School to start the business. But honestly, I was so such a spendthrift and so like in that like really MBA lifestyle mindset that I blew through that 10K. So I don't want to say it doesn't matter the 10K I got. I'm really grateful for it, but I don't want you to think you need 10K to start a business. Like, I think 10K is a nice amount of money to be able to invest in your business in the first year as an online business. But yeah, to 8 years later, it was $1 million company. And so if I can do it, you can do it too.
And we're going to talk about that quite extensively in the interview in terms of the growth process from just starting to, I believe in 2018 you made $1 million, helping people get into top grad schools and I guess elite schools for graduate schools. But I want to go back to the beginning and I want to talk about your family.
Okay.
I want to talk about just your life growing up, right? So where was I guess the difference in terms of, both your parents are college educated,
Mhm.
but you said you lived in a, lower income neighborhood
Yep.
growing up. So talk about how that happened. So what did your parents do?
Yep.
I'm gonna say wrong, but financially,
To where
what was,
we grew up in a low income neighborhood.
yeah, yeah. So talk about that in terms of how that happened with your
Great
parents being college
question.
graduates.
Great question. This is a really common thing, which is that a lot of times I don't have great articles to point to. Maybe if it's not too much trouble, somebody on one of our teams could dig up some articles about this, but there's something about when Black people, where we tend to purchase property, it tends to either be around other people of color or other Black people. And I don't see us experiencing a lot of that huge home equity growth and home value growth as I see my white friends experiencing and their parents experiencing. So when my parents moved into the neighborhood, in Austin, Texas, and Dove Springs, it was actually like according to them, it was like a solid middle class neighborhood. It was near a military base. It was a bunch of families, and we were actually the only Black family on the street. It was a white neighborhood. However, then the military base left, and excuse me, so did all the military families. And that really kind of dropped the tax base out of the neighborhood to where then all those empty houses became Section 8 housing and other kinds of government subsidized housing, which, it's a little bit of a vicious cycle. Now we don't have a tax base. So then, maintaining the neighborhood goes away, and it shouldn't, but, that's how it works sometimes. And like just the decline. And so it quickly became kind of gang ridden, and just kind of a low income neighborhood with a lot of property crime. My parents actually wanted to move. They wanted to move when I was in elementary school. I do not know why they listened to a child, but they did. And I begged them not to move. I was like, this is where I want to grow up. This is where I want to live. When I say a child, I mean elementary school age. This is where I want to grow up. I do not want to move. And so we didn't move. And maybe I cost my parents a lot of wealth by us not moving, but I don't think so, Lawrence. People come. So my parents are now in one of the, my mom passed away, but my dad's still in the neighborhood. My dad's home is in a pre-gentrified neighborhood. I see them coming because I like see some white people on bikes and I'm like, oh, so it's coming. But for the most part, it's still about 80% Mexican American and 90% low income. Um, and that location where my family lives, oh, so good. It's like right near the airport, but not like where there's a lot of flying over, but it's like 15-minute drive to the airport, 15-minute drive to downtown Austin. Yeah, near a really gorgeous park. So they are coming. And so maybe they haven't seen that home equity growth like my friends in other neighborhoods, but it's coming. But that is what happened is honestly, they listened to me like a 8-year-old or whatever, be begging them not to move.
So what was in you, or what was in your heart where you said that's where you wanted to grow up and not somewhere else as a child?
Yeah, I think I've had a lot of racial consciousness and knowing that I'm Black since a very young age. I actually remember kind of like waking up from the Matrix and being like, oh my God, I'm Black. Um, I remember I used to I went to a daycare and it was like a church daycare. and it was all little white kids. And my mom, when she brought me there, was even like, "Do y'all like take Black kids?" And they were like, "Oh my God, of course." But how are people supposed to know if you show up there and you don't see anybody who looks like you?
Yeah.
So she brought me to the daycare and I was there. And I was just like, whatever, I'm a kid. And one day I heard my mom talking to somebody else and was like, "Oh, it's super easy to see Kaneisha when I pick her up. It's just a sea of white and then a little black dot." And literally, I just like the mask was removed. The matrix was revealed. The green text was falling down the black screen. And I was like, oh my God, I'm different. Like I knew my skin was brown, but it was just like, whatever. This is pre-K. I'm different. I'm Black and everybody else is white. And I remember Miss Rose. She was a dark-skinned Black lady. She was there, and so Miss Rose was a teacher at the school, and she was actually had some multiracial children that I think also went to the daycare, but I didn't see them every day. Yeah, so that was like the moment. And I even had racial consciousness around my little sister's name. So me and my sister are 6 years apart, and my parents were talking about what they were going to name the baby. So I'm 5 years old. My parents are talking about what they're going to name the baby, and they're like, maybe we'll name her like Tamara or like Sierra. And I was like, excuse me, John and Deborah Grayson.
Yeah.
You're not about to have me be Kaneisha in a family of John, Deborah, and Sierra. No. Is she gonna have a Black name like me? And I was like, I would like to name the baby. I'm a part of the family too, right? And they were like, sure, what do you want to name the baby? And at the time I was in kindergarten, and my best friend, her name was Tamika Washington, and I said Tamika. And they were like, well, if you can spell it, we'll consider naming the baby that. So I went to school the next day and I asked Tamika to write her name down on a piece of paper, and I brought it to my mom, and my mom could not believe I had actually remembered and named the baby Tamika. And my sister is Tamika Grayson, and she is very Tamika and very loves her name. And so, yeah, all that is to say is that I don't even, what question was I even answering?
Yeah, I was just talking. I think we was talking about just your family background in terms of how you guys end up growing up in
from a very, very young age, I was very aware, like, we is Black. I grew up in a Mexican neighborhood. So a lot of my culture growing up actually is Mexican culture. Food I ate, mostly the food. Yeah. But yeah, I grew up in schools where everybody spoke Spanish. Every single student, except for me, it seemed like, was on free lunch. I would beg my parents to fill out the form every year so I could get free lunch and fit in, because I was the only kid paying with money.
Yeah.
And my parents would always be like, girl, we're not going to qualify. Go now. And we wouldn't. My dad is a retired corrections officer. So he's not like a police out in the streets. He's like the person inside the jail, like booking people in. And when I say jail, I mean jail, not prison. So this is like the drunk guy, from the bar, but it also could be like, I murdered somebody. It's basically before you've been sentenced. And then if found guilty, that's where you are. Then you go to prison or free or whatever. So people were just staying there for 30, 60, 90 days. And that's where my dad spent his whole career. And then my mom was a disability case examiner, which means she worked for the state determining whether people should get disability benefits or not. So, when I was in high school in the late 90s, early 2000s, my parents combined were probably making about $80,000 to $100,000.
Got you. So, even though you lived in a certain neighborhood, financially, your parents made a little bit more. But something from your stories also came up for me in terms of this ability for you to speak up and be insistent and persistent. Where do you think that came from in terms of, because just knowing you, that has come up over and over again in your career, but early on, where did that come from?
Yeah, that notion of using my voice. I have a really loud voice. As a kid, I had a lot of allergy issues, so I had this really loud, raspy, kind of froggy voice. You can still hear it a little bit. And I would always get in trouble for talking, and I'd be like, other people are talking too. And the teacher would say, well, you're the only one I can hear. And now even my little nephew, Dalen, I have twin nephews, they're 8. Dalen is in speech therapy because he talks too loud. So, we just some loud folks. So first of all, it's just like my actual physical voice um, is very round and resonant and loud. So when I speak up, it's very noteworthy when I speak up on video or in a classroom or in a workshop or whatever. I'm not afraid to use my voice. I would also say, I come from a line of presenters on my mom's side. My grandpa, Johnny Schultz, is a reverend. His wife, my grandma, who is the blood relation to me, my grandpa's not, she calls herself the evangelist Beulah May Schultz. And my grandma had like a public radio show preaching and praying. They have a church, a gorgeous, tiny little church that they own, and run, preach out of and do music out of. My grandparents like travel all over America in this like little RV in the old days and do like revivals. So I really think in Black American culture we have a really strong oral history tradition, storytelling, and that kind of stuff, and that's pretty strong in my family. So I think it's like in my DNA to use my voice and use my voice to inspire and help people.
Got you. Yeah, and that is going to come up over and over again when it comes to applying to these different schools. And I want to get into that after this quick break. So just everyone, as a reminder, I'm here with Kaneisha Grayson. Kaneisha is the founder and CEO of The Art of Applying and The Bold Soul. The Art of Applying is a company that helps non-traditional and wildcard applicants get into the world's top graduate schools and money to pay for it. The Bold Soul is a new community course and podcast that helps high achievers who are wild at heart to grow their online businesses and find their ideal partner. You can find out more about Kaneisha at theartofapplying.com. That is theartofapplying.com. All right, please make sure you like this video too. Like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff as well. Kaneisha, I want to talk about when you first got into the pipeline and talk about this pipeline that a lot of parents don't really know exists, but I think that we both benefited from in some form or fashion. So you were talking about, getting accepted to, I guess, magnet school in 6th grade. The turning point for me was going to Phillips Academy at Andover.
I had no idea you went there. That's amazing.
For summer school, yeah. So I went there for 3 summers. And that opened up a new world for me, and it got me in the habit of applying for these special programs and these just programs that help, I guess, minority applicants and just certain people, and it really fast tracked my life in a certain type of way where truthfully I could be a little bit more lazy in a certain type of way and still get a lot of like the same benefits. And I'm not saying that's your story at all. I'm saying that's what happened to me. But it just showed me what we kind of wanted to build for the Black Business School and our Black Millionaires Tomorrow pipeline as well. But talk about that in terms of 6th grade, getting into this magnet school and getting into that pipeline at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. Like all those programs like Jack and Jill, Prep for Prep, I think Quest, Posse, Management Leadership for Tomorrow, Inroads, Sponsors for Educational Opportunity. I mean, there's so many. Those are some of the top ones that occur to me. I just can't, a Summer Bridge / Breakthrough, like all those kind of programs that take either inner city or underprivileged or students, underrepresented, students of color, whatever, first generation, all those type of programs, they're life-changing. They're absolutely life-changing. I participated, for me, it was really just mostly going to magnet school for middle school, then going to a magnet school for high school. Then I went to Pomona College for college. I'd say the Rotary Club was probably one of my biggest beneficiaries. That's how I spent the year in Ghana. They had also given me a scholarship, some good amount of money for college. I think it was like $5,000 or something, which is not nothing. And then I did SEO. I did Sponsors for Educational Opportunity, which definitely was super cool to work, on Wall Street. Like what? and to be paid well for my work was amazing. And to be around all these Black, Latino, and Asian high achievers was so exciting. Going to that magnet school in middle school was so world expanding. I had never even knowingly met a Jewish person. I was like, what is a Jew? And like literally, Stephen Aarons became one of my closest friends in middle school. And I think that the Black community could learn a lot from the financial cohesiveness and business savvy that we see a lot in the Jewish community. And like the Jewish community is not a monolith, right? There's like the really Orthodox people, the like Reform Jews, people who are just like, I'm just Jewish by culture, not religious, whatever. But I think that there is this kind of shared history of oppression and persecution and thriving. And also just want to say that there are Black Jews as well. So I don't want to make it sound like you can only be Black or Jewish, but all that is to say is that like, I just got to be in school around different types of people, not just like we all poor in this neighborhood, like within this quarter-mile radius. And so, yeah, I've had a lot of wonderful experiences really centered around this notion of diversity. I had never even been on a plane when I was in high school. And then I got recruited to go to this like academic program in Belgium and France. And so my family hustled to, we delivered phone books, we delivered flowers, I pitched small businesses. Just to show you how different things were to those of you who are younger watching this video, me and Lawrence are in our mid 30s. And so we got to experience life before the September 11th and before the recession. Like my first, or really my second real job in high school, I was working at the grocery store and they paid us like $9 an hour. And that was 1999 or 2000, right? They're still paying people something like 10, 12, $15 an hour 20 years later. That's crazy. But I would, just to raise that money to go to Europe, I was a little hustler. I would look in the phone book because I'm old, and I would call art galleries and be like, hey, I'm an inner city youth. I want to go to Europe. And like, who cares about Europe? People who care about art. I will work in your art gallery for half a day for $50 or a full day for $100. And they were so bemused by this young person calling saying that they'll work for whatever. And a lot of them said yes. And I would just come and just like sweep, and a lot of times just literally listen to them talk. The owner or the curator of the gallery, and they would, write me my little check for $50 or $100. And I saved up the $2,500 I needed. And my first time on a plane was to fly by myself to Europe. So, and then that blew my head open, like, oh my goodness, like this is now I'm out of America and things are really different here. For me, it's always been education and school and academics has just really catapulted me to the next level always in my life.
Well, let's talk about that. So you went to a small liberal arts college in Pomona College. That's in California, correct?
Yeah.
And then after that, you immediately or almost immediately went to Harvard Kennedy School of Government and also Harvard Business School.
Yep.
So talk about that a little bit in regards to what you learned at each of those places. And then I want to get into this, like your core business in terms of, applying, because you've applied for so many things throughout your career.
For sure. So what I learned at Pomona College, I did not go in thinking I'd be a Black Studies major. I didn't know what I would study, but those Black Studies classes were just too lit to quit. Like the first one I took was African American crime and mystery novels. What is that? I was like, yeah. I saw that on the course selection and I was like, I don't even think I like crime and mystery. I don't even know but like I have to, African American mental health. What does that mean? We have different mental health issues or they manifest differently, I have to take that class. And then it kept being, I wanted to be that person who studies economics, something we're able to separate and ascend into whiteness. But they were not considered white for a long part of American history. And so these classes were just fascinating to me. And before I knew it, I was a Black Studies major. So I learned a lot. I learned a lot about Black history beyond, MLK and Malcolm X and Rosa Parks, which is important, but like, can we do more than that? I learned a lot about Black feminism, Black radical thought. I learned my Spanish got really solidified. I was taking Spanish from 6th grade all the way through high school. So I was strong in Spanish, but then I studied abroad in Havana, Cuba, and it was like, speak Spanish or speak nothing. And so I had that experience where it just really got integrated and I became basically fluent. I learned that at a predominantly white institution, a small school that really did not have enough Black students. It really did not have, when I was there, enough low-income students. I learned that I was going to be happier standing out and being a leader on campus to the students who were looking for mentorship, leadership, and peer mentorship and leadership. I would be much more happier standing out than trying to fit in. So I learned that too. And I learned to just apply for stuff and ask for stuff. I was good at that. Well, we already know I was good at that, but I learned like you can still keep doing that. So that's what I would say I learned at Pomona College. Those are some of the things I learned. Do you want me to go into each degree or
no, just go into, just your experience at both degrees. Let's say your 3 years.
For sure. My 3 years at Harvard were phenomenal. Academically, they were challenging, but it wasn't like, oh my God, it's Harvard, I'm going to die. It wasn't like that. I would say that for me, it was the first time I was around a critical mass of high achieving Black students. So it was like really exciting for me. Really, really exciting for me to be basically around like Black bougie folk. And like, we all had like different backgrounds, but we were all that Black kid that talked white, and it was like, talked white in parentheses and quotation marks, but it was like, oh my God. It was just like this exhale you didn't even know you needed to exhale. Like, of course there were Black students at Pomona, but for me, my identity at Pomona was much more around coming from a low income background. I felt actually quite alienated when I would find out that Black students were like from bougie backgrounds, because I did not know until I got to college that I conflated race and socioeconomic class. Mm-hmm. In my mind, like Black folks we struggle financially, mm-hmm. like we po. And so when I got to school and people were like, no, my dad went to Yale and my mom's a doctor, I was like, I felt betrayed. Like, why didn't anybody tell me the Cosbys were real people or could be real people? I thought that was just like fantasy TV. And so when I got to Harvard, it was just like, wow, like Black people and high achieving Black people. I would say still most people had that really kind of rich background I was more, because I'd gone to college with rich people, I was more like, oh, okay, I'm like that chip on my shoulder is still there, but like less so. And what I learned at Harvard was to have an unapologetic sense of entitlement to wealth. And Harvard Kennedy School focuses on training and helping you be a leader and manager that prioritizes what is best for the citizenry. Harvard Business School, when I was there, trains you on how to prioritize, maximize shareholder value, mm-hmm. meaning whoever owns the company, that's who you owe. Within the bounds of the law, you owe them to make them as much money as possible. And for that to be basically the singular goal, of course, now business schools have become much more about the triple bottom line of like what's good for business, what's good for the society, and what's good for the environment. And that is a great direction that they have moved in. But what I needed was to be told, you deserve to be rich, you're going to be rich, and like here's how to manage um, profit and loss statement, expenses, human capital, meaning employees, in order, and here's how to make decisions with limited information. I felt very well prepared academically because of my education, that magnet school education. I felt so prepared academically for Pomona. I was very well prepared. And then I was well prepared for my time at Harvard. Because I got to start at the Kennedy School, which was more my jam, kind of, nonprofit, social enterprise. And then when I got to business school, they put me in a program called analytics, which is like a bridge program for people whose quantitative skills need some bolstering. So I ended up actually graduating from, even though I came as a non-traditional student, meaning no formal business background, I had a low GMAT score. My GMAT score was 620, which is the kind of GMAT score that really is not even good enough to even get into like UT Austin. And so I was really a non-traditional applicant, but I got in through what is now called the 2+2 program, which is a deferred admission program for college students. And so I ended up graduating with second year honors from Harvard Business School, which means I was the top 20% of graduating second year students, coming in as someone who shouldn't have even gotten in. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I want to go back to that point you made about unapologetic wealth, right? And that's something I learned pretty early on too. Um, there's my favorite quote from The Wire, the show The Wire is, deserve ain't got nothing to do with it, right? And Snoop said it, right before she was trying about to kill one of the characters, right? but that kind of stuck with me just even before that is where I never questioned whether I deserve to be in a place or not. I just accept it for what it is in terms of this is the opportunity that I got. I'm going to make the best of it.
Beautiful.
And I think that a lot of people, a lot of Black people, we have this imposter syndrome. Actually, me and my wife were talking about imposter syndrome this morning because that's something she struggles with. She was reading a book about it, that type of thing, as well. And stuff like that just never crossed my mind because I was always just kind of given opportunities. I worked for them, don't get me wrong, but like it's just they kind of always came, and that's just the way life was, right? And I think that what makes a lot of rich white people entrenched in power is because they have a very similar mindset where they don't think about if they deserve something or not. They feel entitled to whatever it is that they actually get, that type of thing, as well. So it's funny that you mentioned that, with your experience at Harvard, because I can just imagine, the level of entitlement, that you may have over, or I guess you may have like seen while you were there. But what do you think about that?
Yeah, and I think that I think imposter syndrome is a racial issue, but I also think it's a gendered issue. And I think that women are socialized to feel that we got to go above and beyond to be qualified or deserve something. So I do think that there's a gender issue at play there. I would also like to recognize colorism. I think that
you talked about that in your Facebook post today.
I did.
So talk about
I
that.
think, light-skinned people are often more palatable and approachable for white people, and it's like a safe Black person. So that also could play into it as well. And I just want to acknowledge that like a dark-skinned Black woman is having, and I want to go one step further and say a dark-skinned Black woman with very African features is going to move through the world differently than like a light-skinned Black man and experience different levels of like people feel, treating them like they belong places. So I just want to say that because it's not something we talk a lot about. I don't think we talk enough about in the Black community, is that yeah, there's white privilege, but there's also light skin privilege. And it's a real thing. Even just yesterday, I don't know who posted it, but somebody posted in a Facebook group I'm in, and it said, all your favorite Black shows from growing up are outrageously colorist. And like, if you really think about it, like on even let's just use Fresh Prince, like, we had the dark skinned mom, Vivian, and then somehow she became this light skinned lady. And like,
Yeah, they didn't replace her with a dark skinned lady, right? So that's interesting. Yeah. So
and like, the beautiful daughter, I don't remember her name now.
Hillary.
Hillary is like light skin. And so now I will acknowledge Carlton was brown skin, so that's okay.
So was Ashley.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And but the butler was the darkest person on the show. And so and this is not me criticizing Fresh Prince per se, because I loved Fresh Prince, but I just wanted to bring that up. But imposter syndrome, I think the way imposter syndrome shows up for me is not about feeling like, oh my God, I don't belong places. It's more about not being as visible as I know I can be, right? Not making like the video I know I could make and inspire people, not applying for awards that I could be qualified for. Not because I think like I don't deserve the award, but because I'm just like, I guess this is still imposter syndrome. I'm like, they're not going to pick me. They're, Forbes making their 100 under 100 list that they make. Like they're looking for some fast moving startup, not my very stable cash rich company. That's not big and exciting 40 million, whatever, unicorn, billion.
But you're going to be a part of the Financial Juneteenth 30 when we have our list, when we relaunch our platform.
I love that. I would love to be. And so that's how imposter syndrome shows up for me, is not putting myself out there as much as I could, and maybe like playing small and safe and what I'm used to, versus taking risks to be more visible, go bigger, and maybe potentially fail. So it does affect me, but it's less of a like, oh, I shouldn't be here, and more about not going for things that I really should be going for, not being as visible as I should be, as I could be and should be and would like to be.
Got you. Everyone, we're here with Kaneisha Grayson. Kaneisha is the founder and CEO of The Art of Applying and The Bold Soul. The Art of Applying is a company that helps non-traditional and wildcard applicants get into the world's top graduate schools and money to pay for it. The Bold Soul is a new community course and podcast that helps high academic achievers who are wild at heart to grow their online business and find their ideal partner. And that is coming soon. For everyone who is interested. If you are looking to go into grad school right now and want to go to some of the best, please reach out to Kaneisha at theartofapplying.com. That is theartofapplying.com. Also, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe this video as well, so that YouTube's algorithm knows that this is excellent content that other people should be watching.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Kaneisha, I want to get in this last segment to your company a little bit more. So tell the audience, what's this company that you created that helps people get into grad school, and that you made, $1 million in revenue in the year 2018 off of?
Awesome. Yeah. So I started The Art of Applying in 2010. When I was in graduate school, a lot of people were coming to me asking for advice on how did you get into Harvard without being this like amazing titan of industry? How did you get in with such a low GMAT score? I had good grades. I had like a 3.5 something GPA, almost 3.6, but my test score, and I was helping people for free. And I decided to start charging. And the guy I was dating at the time, Carlos, was like, I want to be your first paid client. And I was like, okay. And I charged him, and we helped him get into Northwestern Kellogg, even though he had a low GMAT score, even though he was a little bit on the older side, even though he had a mediocre GPA from a great state school. He got into his top choice school. And I just knew like, I got this. And that was 2010. I piddled along for quite a few years. I'd say about 2-3 years, just being pretty broke, like maybe 30K in revenue, 50K in revenue, nothing what I should have been earning as a Harvard Business School and Harvard Kennedy School grad, but I just I don't know, I wasn't scaling, and I also didn't have the community I needed in order to really soar. I then decided to bring on a consultant team. A lot of people told me, no, people come for you. They're never going to work with other people. And that's a reminder to all of you that just because you receive feedback, even from knowledgeable people, does not mean that you have to take it as gospel. People told me that no, your business, it's all about you, Kaneisha. Your face is everywhere. They're not going to work with someone who's not you. And I brought on consultants and we've been jamming ever since. So that helped a lot. Drastically increasing my prices helped a lot. I was pricing myself below everyone else because I'm like, well, I'm new. And then I just worked with some business coaches and they were like, what about you just price yourself above everybody else and differentiate yourself that way? And I'm like, that sounds good. And so I just made my prices higher than everybody else's. And that helped a lot with cash flow. And then in 2017, I made a 5-figure investment in some business coaching to learn how to sell and how to sell over the phone. I raised my prices, and that year, just to help you understand, in 2016, I think I brought in like 180K in revenue or something. In 2017, 575,000 in revenue, and then 2018, a million. Okay, so I'm working I've basically restructured my cost structure to bring my costs way down so that like I can keep more money and have a lot more free time. So now I'm working my way back up to $1 million company while still having a lot of free time and having way more cash flowing through to the business and to me. But yeah, right now we have a signature program called Application Accelerator. It's a phenomenal. Basically, it's an online boot camp that focuses on teaching you everything you need to know to get into a top business school, policy school, law school, education, social work. And we actually just took on our first PhD client. I've helped other people get into PhD programs, but in the accelerator, she's our first PhD only client. She's a total badass. She is extremely accomplished woman from Botswana, and we're going to be helping her apply to PhD in urban studies, urban planning. And yeah, I have 20 contractors. The team is always growing. These are Ivy League grads who work with my clients on applying to their schools. These are also writers and editors some went to college, some didn't go at all, who write things for me, like, content for me and do marketing content for us. And they also do some essay editing for the clients. We've got video editors on staff. We've got a lot of gig workers. And then full-time, we are 3, and we'll probably grow to 5 full-time people within the next 90 days or so. And so I make a 6-figure income right now. I'm debt free. I have a multiple 6-figure net worth. And right now, like with all these things I'm telling you, I work about, it fluctuates between 20 and 30 hours a week. I have quite a few health issues that I have to take care of. And that's something that I really want entrepreneurs to be mindful of, is that like, do not burn yourself out. Like adrenal fatigue is not a thing that Western medicine really believes in, but functional medicine does. And I believe that I have that. I also have uterine fibroids. So that's something a lot of Black women have. And so now I'm going to need to like get this big surgery and all that. So not that there was necessarily much I could do to have prevented the fibroids, but just to know that your body and your health is so important. And I'm really grateful to be able to work, these reduced hours and be almost semi-retired with a 6-figure income and no debt.
Well, let's talk about that too, right? Because, you've been very open throughout the years with regards to your personal life, so health concerns, relationships, like that type of thing. So I know you got divorced, a few years back.
Mhm.
You've had health concerns as an entrepreneur. So how much of that came from being, I guess, in the world of entrepreneurship, or like how has that shaped your life and your business? Thinking about like your health concerns, your relationship, your previous relationships, that type
For
of thing.
sure, for sure. I was by far in my marriage, I was the breadwinner. My ex-husband had a graduate degree, but he just like would not go for the types, he wouldn't go for enough of the types of jobs one needs to apply for to be paid like well. And so that was a big frustration. He was the one who ended up asking for the divorce, but like we were gonna get divorced eventually. Um, we I he worked a tremendous amount, I worked a tremendous amount. That wasn't good for the relationship, and we just really wanted, it's funny, we both really wanted to make a lot of money, but quality time mattered more to me than to him, but I was the one making more money. So that was really hard because it was like I almost kind of wanted to bribe him to stay home with me. But of course, he's a man and he wants to like get his. And so that was really hard. So for me, now dating now, I'm in a relationship, I'm in an interracial relationship with a white man, and that has its own challenges. But some of the benefits of just being with the person that I'm with right now is that he's a very strong earner. He has $1 million in assets and cash, which makes him technically a millionaire. I'm 36, he's 30. We met on Bumble. And what we share in common is we both love to make money. We like to talk about making money. We love quality time and words of affirmation. He's a very gentle person. He has some health issues too. He's very like supportive of me and my health issues. Like after I have my fibroid surgery, he's going to take care of me or help take care of me. So will my sister and my dad. And so, I he loves how extra I am. And so we definitely do have to navigate some really challenging conversations around white privilege and racial injustice that with my African husband, I didn't, he got it, which is great. For the most part, he got it. So that is a challenge in this relationship, but it's kind of like you just trade in a different set of challenges. And these challenges for me feel more navigable than a lot of the challenges I was having with my ex-husband. So this isn't one of those like get yourself a white man. This is not one of that is not what I'm saying. I'm more saying that it is so important because this is the Black Financial Channel. So that it is so important to make sure that you and your partner, even if you're just dating, are on the same page about money. And I can say with real good, beautiful confidence that like me and my partner now are much more well aligned financially as far as how much we earn, and then how much we want to earn, how we want to use money, and that means a lot to me. Yeah.
Got you. So before we get out of here, that's great advice, and I think you should start that community that you were talking about, that you were
Oh,
looking for.
can I use the F word?
What's that for? Oh yeah, yeah. Go
Like
ahead, use it. That's fine.
the non fucked up like
Yeah.
interracial Facebook group, because I want support. Like I want a community and I want support of like women of color or Black women who are married to or dating white men. All the challenges that do come up, but I don't want to be in a group that's about like, ooh, let's talk about how it's so better or good, because that's very problematic and weird. But yeah, it could be that I have to start the group because it is needed. And you know, our culture is becoming more and more of a melting pot. And so yeah, I probably need to start the loving group, inspired by the lovings.
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you should. So before we get out of here, can you tell the audience a little bit or how they can find you on the internet if they want to use your services? How
For
do they reach out to
sure,
you?
for sure. I would say the easiest way to ever find me, because the bold sold stuff is not up yet, is you can always just go to kaneisha.com, KANEISHA.com. Right now, that just redirects to theartofapplying.com. Maybe one day it'll redirect to a landing page that's like, here's all my ventures. But if you're ever just like, what is Kaneisha doing? Just come to Kaneisha.com, Kaneisha.com. If you know you want our help with applying to grad school, just come to theartofapplying.com. And then if you are a high academic achiever who's wild at heart, you've got all the degrees, but you're feeling like, I want to own my time, own my money, stop making this random person rich and make myself rich through my own business, like, of course, subscribe to the Black Financial Channel and everything Lawrence does. And then come visit us at the Bold Soul. So theboldsoul.fm.
Wonderful. And my very last question before we get out of here is, what is your best piece of advice for those individuals out there who want to start their own lean business? So not, the Inc. 5000 type of company, but just,
like
a strong foundational bootstrap business.
For sure. I would say be willing to invest in help. I spent many years struggling on my own because I felt like I paid $150K to go to Harvard Business School and Harvard Kennedy School. Why should I pay another $2,000, $3,000, $10,000 to learn how to start my business? Like, I should know how to do it. And you just don't get points for doing it the hard way. And if you can invest those mentorship dollars with a Black, Indigenous, or person of color, I would really encourage you to do that, because there are so many really amazing, particularly Black women doing business coaching, that I would really encourage you to do your research and don't just purchase the first course you see advertised on Facebook. Ask them, do you have some success stories of Black clients on video that you can show me, or that you can let me speak to them? And if they belittle that request or make you feel weird about asking that, that's probably not the coach for you. So be willing to invest in help. And of course, like, I will be one of those people that you can work with to start or grow your online business. But there are so many amazing resources, and let's do our best to maintain more circulation of Black money within the Black community. Like, can we hold on to our money just a little bit longer and spend our money with one another? And it's not about being separatist. It's about supporting one another. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is invest in help. And if you can, find a Black, Indigenous, or person of color to invest with.
Wonderful. Kaneisha, thank you so much for your time. Today, we've been speaking with Kaneisha Grayson. She is the founder and CEO of The Art of Applying and The Bold Soul. Before we get out of here, please make sure that you like this video, share with other people who may be applying for grad school, or who just want to start a small, lean, bootstrap business that can grow to multiple six figures and even seven figures, as Kaneisha has done throughout her career. And last but not least, I would like to thank the Black Business School for sponsoring this video. So at the Black Business School, we don't just help you climb the corporate ladder, we help you build one as well. So what we do is help African Americans to obtain a culturally relevant yet practical education in all things wealth building at an affordable price. People come to us because they either want additional freedom to live like Kaneisha lives in their life, or they want to leave a financial legacy behind to their family or community, or they just want to have stability and security going into their golden retirement years. We have classes on personal finance, we have classes on entrepreneurship, real estate investing, as well as stock market investing as well. So please head over to theblackbusinessschool.com to learn more. That is theblackbusinessschool.com to learn more. So on behalf of Kaneisha Grayson, my name is Lawrence Watkins. You guys take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.